All right. Hey, Packer fans, it's Ahman Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher here, and here in Believe in Packers. And this past game, past Saturday, man, this was Saturday night game at Lambeau was a tough one to swallow because we had some things going on. We'll talk about it here. So the Green Bay Packers ran into a historic performance from one of the greatest running backs of this generation right now, as Derrick Henry put on a show, an all-time show for running backs in a 41-24 win for the Ravens in Lambeau Field. So this one wasn't about trick plays or flunky moments or anything like that. This was about physical domination, and Green Bay had no answers for it, basically. So let's break down what happened, where the game was lost. We kind of know that, but we'll still talk about it. It's going to be tough, but this is all a learning experience. So, and what did this means moving forward for the Packers and the playoff push here? So, let's start off with my man Derrick Henry. I respect him a lot, being a running back to running back, but if you watch this game, you didn't need to look at the box score to know what the story was, but the numbers still jump off the page. Let's talk about this real quick. So 36 carries, career high for Derrick Henry, which kind of surprised me, thinking, hey, he's done that before. But then 216 yards. 216 yards is a special number because that's the same amount I ran for back in 2003 in our final home game against the Denver Broncos. So it just sucks it happened to us from an opposing running back. So that was the most ever by a visiting player in Lambeau Field. And then 4 rushing touchdowns for Derrick. So this puts him seventh career in 200-yard rushing games, the most in NFL history. All right, for 7, that's amazing. All right, and then other records he is now owner of. He became the first player with 200 plus yards and 4 rushing touchdowns in a game since 2020. The all-time leader in 200-yard rushing performances. I think I have one or two maybe. And then fourth all-time in rushing touchdowns, and he's now 10th all-time in rushing yards, in career rushing yards right now. So that is he's up that mountain. He's a little bit ahead of me on that mountain. He passed me up a long time ago, so I'm looking up at him. So he's doing having a fantastic career, Hall of Fame career in itself. Those numbers right there will put him in the Hall of Fame once his name comes up to ballot in after the 5 years he retires. So it was one of the greatest performances I had ever seen. Ravens coach had mentioned, John Harbaugh said that, and he wasn't exaggerating when he mentioned that. He's watched some good football players, coached some good football players. I'm pretty sure watched some hella amazing games as a coach. So and as a fan. So from the opening drive, it was clear Baltimore was committed to feeding Henry, and knowing that they had Huntley that hadn't passed the ball a whole lot. So from a coaching standpoint, I think that was fair to see. And Green Bay simply could not slow down Derrick Henry when you think that, okay, we know they're going to Derrick Henry, so let's do something to slow him down to make him, make Tyler Huntley throw the ball, but it didn't happen. So it was tough. So let's get into where the defense got overwhelmed with Mr. Henry and what that offense looked like for the Ravens. So the Ravens outscored the Green Bay 307. Outrushed the Packers 307-79. That's not a scheme issue. That is a physical issue. And I tell people all the time, people forget about this. Playing in NFL, playing in college football, playing in high school football, being physical is a scheme. And that's one thing that John Harbaugh and his Ravens have mastered ever since he became the head coach. Always had a dominant run game along with a dominant defense, and that's why they always in the playoff push come the end of the year. So Henry scored a 3-yard touchdown, a 1-yard touchdown, another 3-yard touchdown right before halftime, and then a 25-yard late in the fourth quarter. So Green Bay had not allowed more than 24 points in 14 straight home games until Saturday night. So in a comment, linebacker Adrian Cooper said that was embarrassing and just was not us at all. So right there tells you a lot that they got a lot to work on, and they obviously took one on the chin this past Saturday. So Baltimore scored in the first 5 possessions, building a 27-14 lead at a halftime lead, and never relinquished control from that point on. And so going into the next segment, we talk about the other guys that were on the field. I say battle of the backups from both sides. You had both teams without their starting quarterbacks. Lamar was out with a back, and Jordan Love was out with the concussion protocol, did not make it through that. So both backups, in my opinion, played well. We'll start with ours. The Packers, Malik Willis has 18 for 21, 288 yards passing, career high for him, 1 passing touchdown and 60 yards rushing, and then 2 rushing touchdowns. So he has shown every time he's got on the field, he is a dependable backup and somebody that's going to definitely have a competition with Jordan Love come this offseason later on. But right now, he's definitely a guy that I know Matt LaFleur and that coaching staff trusts in that backfield, calling plays and making plays with his arm and with his leg. So so Willis kept Green Bay competitive. He showed toughness, and especially during that third quarter surge, we'll talk about a little bit later. So Tyler Huntley for the Ravens was 16 for 20, 107 yards, so not a big day, and 1 touchdown. That still is important, right? So managed the game perfectly with Henry dominating, and that's why that was important. To manage that game, to still get a score on the board with his arm and have Derrick Henry, do the rest. So 6 touchdowns total, put them on that board, and maybe a field goal or 2 here and there, sprinkle that. So the difference wasn't the quarterback play. It was what was happening on the front, the front between the O-line and D-line. It was domination there. All right. So there was the little rally here in the next segment we'll talk about. So Packers had a brief rally, showed a little life in the third quarter where Brandon McManus hit a 24-yard field goal. Defense forced the first punt of the night, and Willis ran for 11-yard touchdown run to bring the score 27-24. But so for momentum, it felt like momentum might have flipped to the Packers side, but Baltimore responded that way playoff teams do. So they ripped. So this is where Derrick Henry started again, ripping off big runs, a 9-yard run on a 3rd and 5, and a 30-yard burst to end the third quarter. So those plays set up a 10-yard pass from Huntley to Zay Flowers, pushing the league back to 2 scores. So that's where a playoff team, we woke up and got them going again. So in those crucial moments, this is a comment from Coach LaFleur. In those crucial moments, we needed to step up and stop them, and we didn't get that done right there. So that was a big turning point for the game, to where you have a little momentum going on the Packers side, but then it is stopped by the offense from the other team getting rolling again and getting points to the board. All right. And so some of the things that happened during this game, some of the turnovers and some of the game-sealing plays we could talk about here. So late in the game, Willis, he injured his shoulder a little bit on a release of one of his passes while driving into Ravens territory. So Clayton Tune, so he came off the field, and Clayton Tune, the third string backup for the Packers, came in cold, and it was already cold out there. So obviously his first pass was intercepted by the Pro Bowl cornerback Marlon Humphrey. And so then a few minutes later, Henry delivered the knockout punch with a 25-yard touchdown run. And that was pretty much it right there. So from that standpoint, we just talk about how the injuries piled up during the game and the ones going into this game. So this loss came with a heavy cost of injuries. So Packer injuries right here. Yeah, Zane and safety Zane Anderson carted off with an ankle injury. D lineman Jordan Riley, his Achilles, carted off as well. And then Kamal Haddon, cornerback, also carted off with an ankle injury. And then cornerback Nate Hobbs hobbled off the field. No pun on words there. And wide receiver Dontavian Wicks was into concussion evaluation after one of the tackles there for him. But then going into this game, we already knew Zach Tom out, Savion Williams out, and quarterback Jordan Love out, was already inactive prior to the game. So another comment from Coach Matt LaFleur, this was a humbling night for them because they were just out dominated with a guy, number 22 for the Ravens, doing his job as a running back. So, and then on top of that, and the injuries report backs all that up. Not a lot of guys they were out on that field that they needed for the gameplay. So here in the next segment here, the what this loss means for the Packers, and then we'll sprinkle in a little bit of Ravens comments as well. So the Packers fall to 9-6-1, losing their 3rd straight, mind you. So Chicago clinches the North right now. Say though they're the NFC North champs. Green Bay still holds a playoff spot. So the margin of error right now is pretty much gone. They got to continue to win. They got to get back on the winning side of things against Minnesota in US Bank Stadium. So perhaps the most stunning, some of the stunning stats that we find here is the 2nd straight game without a punt. Only 6 teams have ever done that all went 12-0. So that might be a little sprinkle, a little silver lining right there. And the Packers are right now, they are now 0-2 with those stats combined. So that tells you everything about execution and finishing games out there on the football field. All right. So, like I mentioned, let's get into the looking ahead to the next game. And I will talk about this probably Friday in Believe in Packers, do the preview of that. So here we got the Packers now head over to Minnesota for a Week 18 matchup that still matters in seeding and momentum. So Baltimore, for them, they must beat Pittsburgh and needs help from Cleveland to keep playoff hopes alive, beating, with a pulse and all that. So that's what. So Henry said it best. He said, "I'll be watching and praying." I think a lot of players from not only the Ravens but definitely the Packers be watching and playing, but also playing hard to get that victory against the Minnesota Vikings in US Bank Stadium. So in closing, so this one will stick, with them and obviously with us as fans because it wasn't about effort. It was about getting physically outmatched in this game. And Derrick Henry reminded everyone what a dominant running back looks like, right? And he is one of them still. He still has it. And so for Green Bay, the focus right now is on health, discipline, and finishing strong in these games because the postseason is coming, right? So whether you're ready or not, it is here. All right. That's what you got to do. You got to learn how to finish games. So I'm Ahman Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher. And this has been Believe in Packers. Learn from this game, move on, and go Pack, go. See you guys on Friday in the preview for Minnesota and the Packers in Minnesota in the US Bank Stadium for that final game, season finale game. All right, y'all. See y'all later. And this is all brought to you by FanDuel. Peace out.